And next for you here on Radio Free UK, the 66th weekly Friday show, we have an item entitled Slovakia. EU is going to make Brexit painful. This is from Alan's Antics and gives a contrast to how our exit may go if we don't follow the plan set out in the previous item. Over to you, Alan.
So the UK has had its Brexit vote, and we overwhelmingly decided that we were going to leave the EU. Not Europe, we're still going to be part of Europe, and we'll still get on with our European neighbours, France, Germany, Belgium, etc. I'm going to read you something from the FT, but I'm also going to play you something that came from Press TV, and they had a piece on this, and they had an interview with a special guest. So let's hear what the FT has to say first. Slovakia says that Europe will make Brexit very painful for the UK. This is by Alex Barker and Henry Foy in Bratislava. Europe will make Brexit very painful and ensure Britain is worse off outside the EU, Slovakia's Premier has said, as he dismissed the UK's confidence about divorce talks as bluff. Robert Fico gave voice to the truculent mood in Eastern Europe over Britain's post-Brexit privileges, saying Britain would not be allowed to make EU workers second-class citizens while continuing to enjoy the benefits of Europe's single market. Quote, "It will be very difficult for the UK. Very difficult," end quote. He said in an interview with the Financial Times. He went on, "The EU will take this opportunity to show the public, listen guys, now you will see why it is important to stay in the EU. This will be the position." While expressing his respect for Theresa May, the current UK Prime Minister, he pitted her predicament and dismissed the idea that the allure of Britain's economy would make the EU bend to its Brexit demands. Quote, "What would you say if you were in their position? Even if it is the fifth biggest economy in the world. I understand their financial importance. This will still be very painful for the UK," he said. "They're bluffing. If you were in their position, you would say the same. It will all be fine. It will be fantastic. You will see." "No, no, no, no," he said, wagging his finger. There are more than 1 million Eastern European workers in the UK, exercising EU residence rights that will be one of the most sensitive issues in Brexit talks. Mrs May wants more control over EU migration, curbing free movement principles that the EU insists are integral to the single market. Speaking of the nervousness and fear in Eastern Europe over Britain's free movement demands, Mr Fico said the equal treatment of its citizens in Britain would be his most important demand if Britain was to access the single market. "All we want is to be treated the same as British workers," he said. "If that happens, then this divorce could be a success, but even then it will be more painful for the UK." When Mrs May visited Bratislava in July, Mr Fico said he was very tough in delivering that message. "It's not only me. This is also an issue for the Polish Prime Minister and others. We cannot allow the UK to create a group of citizens of second class." He is more relaxed about when Britain would trigger Article 50 and start formal divorce talks, a process that Donald Tusk, the European Council President, said Mrs May suggested would be triggered early next year. European leaders would not, quote, "send Britain to hell as soon as possible," end quote, Mr Fico said. "We are patient. We are fine because we know what we want." He added, "The question is whether Britons know what they want. That is the mystery. It is an issue of unpreparedness or tactics. It seems to me like unpreparedness. They are still in shock." Well, Mr Fico, we're not in shock. We've made our mind up. We made our decision. We made it clear to our government and the world. We are going to leave. We are going to get out of your fascist regime, your Politburo, your dictatorship. We are going to get out, and you can try and make it as painful as you like, but we can take it. You see, because we're British. And come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Anyway, here's what Press TV had to say about this whole situation.
And finally, Slovakia, which holds the rotating presidency of the European Union, says that the bloc will make the Brexit, quote, very painful for the UK. The Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico rejected the British Premier's confident tone on what she has called making a success out of the Brexit. Fico said that leaving the EU will cause pain to the UK, even if Britain is the fifth largest economy in the world. Fico's remarks come following the first EU summit without Britain in decades, which was held on Friday. At the summit, the leaders of the member states pledged to draw a new vision for the EU in 6 months to restore faith in the bloc. John Stepling, author and commentator, joins us from Norway. You know, pretty strong statements coming here from John Fico, the Slovak Prime Minister. But if we were to look at it, I guess he may be sending a message by making that type of a statement in terms of EU stance regarding the UK?
Well, sure. I mean, I don't think that Fico says much of anything unless he clears it with the larger countries in the EU. You know, you have to remember that an awful lot of the discontent and the Brexit vote was fueled by immigration concerns, which, you know, with racist rhetoric of far right parties and so forth, Islamophobia. But there was also a great deal of, you know, working class discontent. I mean, the specter of Greece hovered over all of this and the brutal crushing of the Greek economy and country. So what, you know, there is a kind of strange mixed message going on in all of this, and the immigration crisis that fuels so much of it. You know, these are immigrants coming from Syria, Iraq before that, Afghanistan. So U.S. foreign policy, you know, is a major player in all of this. And, you know, Britain is, I think, a little bit delusional in terms of their expectations in terms of what the rest of the Eurozone is going to do and say. At the same time, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? This is public theater right now, Fico's comments. So it's hard to really evaluate.
But it's hard not to ignore the market that the UK has, given that it's the fifth largest economy in the world. But at the same time, the trading partner of the UK, well, is the EU countries. So nothing is going to be clear until these negotiations actually take place. And that's when the real stuff is going to come out.
Right. The City of London is you know, synonymous with the British economy. That's what we're talking about, and that's a wildly unregulated market there, and it has attracted a lot of banking and currency activity because it's so unregulated. And how that plays out will be interesting to see. I don't really know.
Appreciate it. John Stepling, author and commentator there from Norway.
That was courtesy of Press TV. And where was the BBC and Sky and all the other prostitutes when Slovakia's Premier was saying that things are going to be very painful for the UK? Yes, of course. They were keeping that bit quiet, weren't they?